on how to prevent fires from happening. Lifestyle expert Chen joins me here in the studio. So let's talk about this. You're cooking all the time. We learned a little something from the tape when it comes to how to, cover a grease fire or oil. What else do we need to know?
Well, when talking with the firefighters, their main point was, it was just so simple. He's like, look while you cook. There are so many distractions that we have these days. So it's like putting something on the stove and then like, oh, let's just check through Instagram. Let's send a text. Look at me, I look cute. Take a selfie. So the whole idea is really just to remember that you have something on the stove. And even simple things like wearing short sleeves or just wearing things that don't have like loose sleeves, things that can easily catch on fire or, for example, or get caught on a handle, right? So your fancy scarves, even this, like if you're leaning over,
this is a hazard.
That could get right into some soup or into a burner.
That's right. Even the ponytail. So make sure like the hair is kind of back a little bit. Yeah,
so it's just really simple prevention tips, things that we know, but we don't always practice. And I think that's the key element.
Be aware.
The other thing that really emphasized too was having an escape plan. So going through that with your family, and you can print them out online, or you could just draw something, on a piece of paper so that everyone can see like the hallway and the rooms, and to identify 2 ways out of every room. And it should be something that you practice with your kids, and they should also know the sound of the smoke alarm, because as someone who lives in a high-rise where the alarm is going off all the time, I know the sound of it, but in my house when I'm at my parents', I don't recall it going off very often. So they should be familiar with it, and it should be something that you practice frequently, and that you have a meeting space outside for everyone. The other thing is about having the proper tools in your home. So we're talking about smoke detectors, as they mentioned in the tape as well. And for people who have the older models, that's something that you should be changing the batteries every year. There are newer models out now where you don't need to change the batteries, and they last for 10 years. So if that's something that
is great.
Because there are things we should be doing, like we should be testing the alarm every month. How many people do that? Probably not many.
Maybe once a season.
Right.
Every month.
Every month you should be testing it, and every year you should be changing the batteries, unless you have a newer model where it buys you that peace of mind of knowing, okay, well, it's good for 10 years. But after 10 years, you should be replacing it. Your smoke detectors, your carbon monoxide detectors. So there are a lot of new ones on the market now that just are a little bit more tech forward and don't require as much maintenance.
Okay, good.
The other thing they mentioned too is I was really surprised when I went to the firefighter. I was like, I know what I'm talking about. I'm in the kitchen all the time. Fire extinguishers. And what they said was it offers sometimes a false security blanket for people, because a lot of people do have them in their homes, but they don't know how to use them.
How many of you have actually had to use one, right? I've never had to use one. So for me, I'd be looking at it and reading instructions.
And when you have a fire, it's not the time to do a trial run. Right. So if you know how to use a fire extinguisher and you're comfortable with it, then by all means have that as a preventative tool. But otherwise, if there's a fire, you should be getting out and you should be calling 911.
And I would say call the emergency line right away, and then you can play with your fire extinguisher.
And the problem they mentioned,
then do whatever you need to do.
What they mentioned
call first.
Exactly, was that some people delay calling 911 because they try to figure it out, or they might stay in a fire a little bit longer. So if you know how to use it, then excellent. And if you're comfortable with it, then great. And then also there's the ladder.
So let's talk about getting out. So having a plan with the family, knowing how to get out. It could be a fun family activity. Get through the window! Go, kids! Getting out like a second floor if you can't get out the first floor. But this ladder was created actually for 2nd story, 3rd story. It's not for a really large apartment building, but if you're in a house, you can throw this little ladder down, and it can go all the way down 2 or 3 stories, which is great. Look at that.
So this is something that they recommend having in each room of a upper level. So you could, tuck it into a closet, under the bed, and that way you have that safe way of getting out. And as you mentioned, for 2 or 3 story homes, myself in a high rise, that would be I'm just tying sheets together for days to try.
After you've called 911.
Yes, exactly. That's how it works.
Okay, very good. These are really good tips. Test the smoke alarms once a month.